Hello and welcome to my February 2020 wrap-up. Well, I'm getting there, people. I'm getting there. I read 8 books in February. I nearly forgot what month I was talking about there for a second. I almost said March, but no, that's not this video. That's the next one that I'm filming today. It may not be the next one that you watch. I'm not sure how the order of these is going to work. But anyway, yeah, I read 8 books in February and some of them are really brilliant and I'm really excited to talk about them all with you. So the first book I finished reading in February was Toffee by Sarah Crossan, which is the first book by Sarah Crossan I've ever read or listened to, and I did listen to the audiobook for this one. I really enjoyed this. It was also really short, which is what I needed at that point in time. It's basically about a runaway girl who ends up staying with this woman who has memory problems and thinks she's somebody called Toffee. And it's really sweet and heartwarming, and at the same time it makes you quite angry for the lack of support systems that are there basically for people like the girl or the older woman with memory problems. So, yeah, and I do like a good social justice, anger-inducing read. The next book I finished reading was the Bristol Short Story Prize Anthology number 11. That's in 1-1, not 11. Yeah, I know what I'm doing with my hands, it's fine. Yeah, so I bought this a while back when I was considering entering a short story into this competition, and I thought I'd better do some reading first. And so this anthology was particularly cheap and quite recent. I think it was like the year before, maybe the year before last. So yeah, I picked it up, I gave it a go. My favourite story in the anthology was the last one, I think because it has young adult characters. You can take the girl into literary fiction, but you can't take the young adult out of her heart. The next book I finished reading was A City of Girls by Elizabeth Gilbert, which I listened to on audiobook, and oh my god, this book was just pure joy from start to finish. From start to finish. It's basically about a young woman in the interwar period, I think, who doesn't get along with her family, and she gets kicked out of her college, and I can't remember what state they're in the US, but her family anyway just send her to New York to live with her mother's sister, her aunt in any case, anyway, who runs a theatre. And if you like stories set in theatres, stories about female friendship and people making terrible decisions but ultimately being there for each other, this is a book for you. And I can't even describe how much I loved this book. I just enjoyed every single minute. I would happily listen to it again and again and again, and yeah, I never read any books by Elizabeth Gilbert before. She is best known for Eat, Pray, Love, which I never read because it didn't sound like my kind of thing, but now I'm thinking I might give it a try because I love City of Girls just so much. So much. It was just, yeah, it's my favourite book that I've read so far this year, including all of the books that I read in March as well. The next book I finished reading was Eric by Terry Pratchett, which is very quick and again was an audiobook. This is about a like sorcery hacker, or a boy who fancies himself kind of like a sorcery hacker in the Discworld, and he accidentally summons Rincewind instead of a demon. And yeah, it was short, it was sweet, I wasn't blown away by it, but yeah. Again, I always say this about Discworld books, but they're either like fine, they were fun, or they're like amazing. And this was a fine, it was fun. I think it benefited from being short because I think the joke would have got a bit old had it gone on too long. Pyramids. But yeah, no, I enjoyed it, it was good. Moving on to the first physical book I have to wave at you, and that is this very battered copy of Haven't Stopped Dancing Yet by Shyamal Pereira with this amazing, like, your price, our price? It's our price, isn't it? Sticker that says $2.99. You can't buy cheaper, we believe. Anyway, this book was published quite a while ago. This book has been through the war. It's devastating. Yeah, 1999, so this isn't a recent printing of this book, as you may tell. I had to clean that cover when I picked it up. I got it in a book swap. So this is basically about 4 girls in the 60s London, which I really loved seeing. I really like seeing books set in London's recent history. It's really interesting seeing basically a completely different version of the city that I've always lived in and love. It's really strange and yet familiar at the same time. I like the kind of alienation that you get from that. So yeah, it's about these 4 girls. The main character, Marla, it doesn't tell me on the back. What was her name? I think it was Marla. Yeah, the main character Marla lives with her mother, who was originally from Sri Lanka, and her father's died a long time ago, so she doesn't really remember him. And she has her best friends at school, who all come from very different family circumstances. Nobody's rich, but they were quite varied nonetheless. And I found that it's really interesting seeing how they get on in life. It follows them up until I think their mid-20s, which is really great because you get to see that full progression from essentially being children and just starting off at secondary school, which happens quite early on in the novel, to getting their first jobs, moving up in the world or down in the world, sideways as it may be. Yeah, it was a really interesting book and I would really recommend it. It was easy to read and I enjoyed it, and I would definitely look out for more books by the author. I can't tell if she's written any more because I think this was her debut novel. It doesn't mention any more books. On the back it just says Shyamal Pereira was the first Sri Lankan child to be born in Moscow. Her mother brought her to England in 1962 in vain pursuit of her father. Cool story. The next book I finished reading was Before the Devil Breaks You by Liv Bray. I didn't actually read this copy. Guess what I did? I listened to the audiobook because I love the Diviners audiobooks. I am now thoroughly hooked, which is why I haven't read the last book in the series, which I must buy in hard copy because I like having them all in hard copy. And it really annoys me that they didn't make hardbacks of them all to match the first one, because I got sent a hardback of the first one by the publisher. I've had to, I think I bought them ever since. No, I did get Lair of Dreams off NetGalley, the second one, but I bought Before the Devil Breaks You, and I did request the fourth one off the NetGalley, but didn't get to download it before they archived it, so yeah, I need to buy that now. But yeah, they sent me this beautiful hardback, and I was so excited to get more beautiful hardbacks, but no, I think they've only come out in paperback. Hopefully, now that the series is done, maybe they'll release them all in a matching set. That would be really nice, because it's one of my favourite series ever. Probably my favourite young adult series. But anyway, I'm saying all this because I can't really tell you about the plot of Before the Devil Breaks You, because it would spoil the Diviners and Lair of Dreams. I really enjoyed this. Finally, the group has all come together, and it's really exciting and dramatic, and something really tragic happens at the end. So, I won't tell you which character, but it does. Anyway, I'm really excited for the final book in the series. I think I would rank this my third favourite so far. I mean, I love this series, so that's not a bad thing. It's just that Lair of Dreams was my favourite because Ling is my favourite character. And Ling is not in this very much. Like, she's there, but she doesn't really take on the same level of role, or near the same level of role that she does in Lair of Dreams. So, yeah, hopefully there'll be more Ling in the final book. Although I understand they do have to work their way around all the characters. It can't just be all Ling all the time. Although, it should be. Ling is the best. Ling is the best. Anyway, the next book I finished reading, I did actually read the print copy of. Woohoo! Second print book actually read of the month, and that is The Beginning of the World in the Middle of the Night by Jen Campbell. I got this for free at a Lush Book Club event, so Thanks, Lush. And I have had it on my shelves for ages, but never got around to reading it. I used to have a habit of reading short stories on journeys, but I have a really short commute to work now. So, and before that, before I moved, I used to walk to work quite a lot, or just hop on the bus for 10 minutes, which isn't really enough time to read even a short story. So yeah, I had got out of the habit of reading short stories, but then in February, I decided to read a short story every single day of the month. And that meant that I got through it and really, really enjoyed it. It's a fabulous collection. It's so imaginative. There were so many brilliant high concept ideas in there that you just think, why has nobody ever written this before? And I really can't wait to see what she does next. And I hope she writes more short stories in the future because, yeah, it's fabulous. Although I am really excited to read a novel by her. The final book I finished in February was The Other Bennet Sister by Janice Hadlow, which I got through NetGalley. And at first, I really loved this. It's essentially part retelling of Pride and Prejudice from the perspective of Mary Bennet, and then there's a lot of what happens after that. And I really loved it. I couldn't put it down until a point where I felt like it just was moving too slowly for my personal taste. And although it was still very, very good, and I did eventually get to the end, I did put it down for like a week and a half in between because I just wasn't being drawn back into it. And so that's just my warning, because it is a very, very long book. I'm not sure how many pages it is off the top of my head. I want to say it was like, was it over 500? Was very long. Goodreads says 480, but I'm pretty sure my copy was over 500. Anyway, as I say, I really loved it for probably the first 3/4 of the book, and I couldn't put it down. I was really drawn into it, and I found Mary to be such an interesting character. You know, she's the awkward one that doesn't really have such a big obvious personality as Jane, Elizabeth, Lydia, or Kitty. I mean, Kitty doesn't really have that big a personality. She mostly just follows Lydia around, but still. You know, Mary is a much quieter character, and it was really interesting to see that kind of character be explored. You know, she's someone who's very earnest and doesn't have any natural charm. She finds it very difficult being around people, trying to work out what their intentions are, and she spends a lot of time essentially studying. And yeah, so I found her to be a really interesting character, but it was just that little bit of the book at the end that I felt it started to drag for me, and that things were taking too long to resolve. But it is a very quiet book that, like, it's its nature to be slow and careful and thoughtful, and I think maybe it was just my mood at the time. But yeah, other than that, I really enjoyed it, and I've seen lots of other people really enjoy it too, so I would highly recommend it. And that is the end of my February wrap-up. Thank you very much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you'd like to see more from me. You'll see me again soon. Oh, and before you go, if you would like to read more books but don't know where to start, check out my free e-course, Ignite Your Passion for Reading, which is linked in the description. Thank you again. Bye!